long 400-year centralizing trend that has now turned, and for the next 3 or 4 centuries, power will flow away from the center and toward the periphery, toward localities. And the third thing is that economic power has been concentrated, economic activity has been concentrated and centralized in the United States. And we have to decentralize that if we want to rebuild our local communities. We have to give people in local communities work to do, and instead of following the Chamber of Commerce model, which is go out and find some company and bring them in here to bring their jobs in here, instead of doing that, what we do is look under our feet and see that we're standing on acres of land and meet the needs that every one of us has, the renewable needs that every one of us has every day. So, that's all I've got to say. That's all, folks. And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to entertain.
I'll comment and let you discuss my comments. A couple things. William Engdahl quoting Henry Kissinger. If you control oil, you control countries. If you control food, you control people. And if you control money, you control the world. Now they are self-conscious on at least those 3 points: energy, food, and money. And that has been the mechanism of control. And they're self-conscious to the point of taking this internationally. The hegemony is based upon it. So it seems to me that we have an emphasis in that for our own local economic focuses.
Right. Well, I mean, you know, we talk about freedom. We unfortunately, most of the time we think of political freedom. When you hear the word liberty or freedom, you think about political freedom. Listen, if you don't have economic freedom, you have no freedom. You don't have freedom of the press if you don't own one. It's just that simple. And so what we have most been robbed of in this country is economic freedom. All of these regulations that have been put in place that we talked about at supper tonight, all these regulations that have been put in place are supposedly aimed at your health and welfare, right? FDA, USDA, all this stuff. I want to ask you this question. In 1905, the Pure Food and Drug Act was passed in response to a media-generated hysteria about adding poisonous additives to processed food. And there was this doctor who had this squad of young men that he put together, and he fed them processed food for a month, and they all got sick as dogs. And the media touted that, and they passed the Pure Food and Drug Act so the government could do something about this. Now, I just want to ask you one question. That was in 1905. Since 1905, how many of the additives then in use has the FDA banned? Anybody know? 0. Not the first one. And the FDA had probably been in existence 3 or 4 nanoseconds before the food processors gained control of the regulators. That's the way it always works. Regulation is about stifling competition. I don't care what anybody says. Regulation is about stifling competition. Think about what the presupposition of all regulation is. That food producers, for instance, are all determined to poison their customers. Who works that way? Nobody works that way. I mean, no matter what kind of job you're in, you don't try to do the worst job you can and hurt the most people. But that's the presupposition of all regulation. The point of all regulation is to stifle competition. And one of the things that we have to do, and one of the things that we can do at the local level and at the state level, is to roll back that regulation, to get rid of that regulation. And if you can get rid of it locally, it makes a huge difference. Believe me, because most of it is enforced locally. Most of it is enforced locally. So if you've got a local government, for instance, that really is in favor of local agriculture and that will open that will kind of sponsor an open farmers market, and when I say open, anybody who's connected with it knows how much they try to control it. It's just like, I don't know what it is with governments. They just can't stand it. If people are out there just spontaneously organizing themselves and, buying and selling stuff with each other, they can't stand that. So they gotta come in and control it. So if you've got a local government that understands and wants to promote local freedom locally, it will take off a lot of those regulations. Any more questions? All right. Yes, ma'am.
Just wondering, I know we just moved from out of state to Kentucky, and I believe not only the state we moved from, but I'm not 100% sure of Kentucky, that it's illegal to buy or sell raw milk.
National law.
Is it national? Okay, I didn't know if that was
No,
state or
it's
national.
state by state. but-
State by state, okay. I know in North Dakota it's illegal. In Kentucky, I think it's illegal too, but what do you do? I mean,
Well, see, let
in
me-
your mean of control, what do
You
you
can
do?
buy it in Tennessee.
yeah,
We do live awfully close to the
well,
border.
no, well, let me.
But I mean, if we want to have a cow, sell it or something.
Well, if it's your own cow, of course, it's not.
No, but I mean, to sell it to neighbors or to, to legally do it without breaking the law.
Well, let me, the thing you raised, the point you raised is a very good one, because it's a point that shows that if you stay in your sphere of control, you can have an effect. There was a woman up in Nashville, Shawn Beatty, who was the head of the Price Foundation chapter up there, and she started trying to get somebody to get along through legalize raw milk.